Alright, g'day Ratbags. Hopefully everything's working. How you doing tonight? I've been waiting hours to do this stream. I was just about to go live, and my phone, which I'm using as my camera for this setup, the battery died. So I had to throw it on the fast charger and wait around for a while. Anyway, so just let me double sound check. Yep, there we go. Cool. Okay, we are going out to the unwashed masses. Fantastic. Okay, here we are. Here I am. Here hopefully some of you are, or will be later at some time in my future. Anyway, I'm sure it'll be absolutely fabulous to have you here. So we're on night 23. It's been a busy week. It's been very frosty nights, some very cold mornings. But here we are. Here go the goggles. Right, let me try and make sure that you don't get circle vision. Alright, you know the deal. This is the book. Wow, it's reflective. Yeah. And this is me, the creatrix of the channel, creatrixZBD. Why have I got monitoring? This is not good. Please hold for one moment. Just, I think there's a monitor on or something. Give me one sec. Uh-huh. Alright, that should be better. Okay, cool, because that would cause a bit of annoying audio. I'll just double check that that I'm still going out. I have to wait till we get to the bit where I change the setting. Yep, cool, we're there. Excellent. Totally tubular. Cool, let's get down to it. It is night 23. We're at a new chapter. I should have something that will give me my Superman vision. Here it is. All the lights on and everything's working in the background. Oh, let's see how we go. Let's do it. All right. Oh, that doesn't seem like the end of a chapter. What's going on there? That'll be it. All right. Imprisonment and interrogation. That sounds scary, doesn't it? All right, let's get into it. Let me forward my whistle. It sounds really serious. I need a drink. All hail the mighty spices of chai. The centre of creation. Sly and Tyrone were in the project control building when they got the news regarding the capture of 4 intruders. Well, at first, Sly thought that this might wrap the problems up. If necessary, they'd simply hold the fugitives until after Doomsday. Well, unfortunately, he quickly discovered, to his extreme frustration, the original fugitive, the highly dangerous nose-biting hippie, had not been recaptured. For the first time, Sly began to feel a twinge of doubt about the whole bloody business in which he was involved. These little human intrusions on their vast and inhuman project made him vaguely aware of how small he was himself. That, coupled with the continuing and irritating presence of Tyrone, a genuinely small man, despite his size, made Sly feel uncomfortably impotent in the midst of all this power. The Project Control building was a depressing place in which to experience doubt and humility, containing, as it did, an awe-inspiring array of high-tech equipment, most of which was going blip, 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 in what seemed to Sly to be an unnecessarily irritating manner. The stuff had been assembled by Nagyasu at various collation points all over the Far East, and so efficient had his administration been that when all the gear arrived, well, there was little more to do than plug it in. Incredibly, it even had a plug on it. Well, the whole thing certainly looked cool. 1/4 of an acre of chrome, plastic, glass and brushed stainless steel, all bleeping, spinning and flashing, almost as complex as the dashboard on a BMW. Yard after yard of console covered in monitors and buttons, walls of tapes, sometimes spinning one way, then, no doubt for some reason, sometimes spinning the other. It was an exhilarating and terrifying sight. And so it should have been. Well, there was, after all, only slightly less equipment in that room than it takes to record a Pink Floyd album. 25 or so white-coated technicians bustled about, flicking switches and looking intelligent. Tyrone had been impressed, despite himself. "Now all it needs is something to shoot," he had said. "What's your hurry, mate? Anyone would think you're looking forward to this bloody awful thing, this," Sly searched for a word, "apocalypse. Christ almighty, let's enjoy what little time's left." "Well, I just don't want any fuck-ups when the time's right. We're only going to get one chance at this, Moorcock. One chance at life or death, right? Well, I want us to be ready." In fact, in a strange way, Tyrone was looking forward to it. Utterly horrible though the prospect was. Oh, excuse me, I lost my place. Its hugeness, well, it still gave him a huge exhilaration. He had had the power of life and death over virtually everybody in his life for so many years that Tyrone was definitely a hard man to thrill. Well, Stark, however, Stark made his very trousers tingle. Despite its irreversible horror, Tyrone still felt a pretty considerable buzz at the prospect of playing God, even if it was a multi-headed corporate god. He relished the prospect of being one of the chosen ones, one of those chosen to survive. Besides this, there was the eerie potency he felt about his part in choosing who should die. In a way, it's not surprising he was a little excited. It's quite something to be the father of creation. Only God had made a world before. Minor irritations. Tyrone's delicious little fantasies were cut short when one of DuPont's security men entered and announced the capture of the prisoners. Well, suddenly Sly found himself wondering about the girl. "Look, Ocker," said Sly, "I can handle this all right. Why don't you just sod off back to Perth, eh? It's just a minor irritation. Some hippies who think they're destroying precious natural flora. I'll talk to them." The security man knew he had a chance to make a big impact, and he grabbed it. "They shot down a helicopter," he said. Well, there was a pretty stunned silence, apart from all the blipping that was going on, that is. "Shot down a fucking helicopter?" said Tyrone incredulously. "What the hell is going on? Christ, first a guy disarms our security chief with his teeth, and then one of our choppers gets shot down." "Look, will you cool it, Tyrone?" said Sly, not really knowing what to say. "We have to think." "Too fucking right, mate. Someone's found out what we're up to and they want in. This is only the beginning." Tyrone was pretty badly shaken. It always gives a person cause for thought when he's just been having a god fantasy and then someone shoots down his helicopter. "Don't be stupid," Sly replied. "These people are just dumb meddlers. It's an ecological thing. We know that from the hippie who bit DuPont." Sly was still thinking about the girl. "Mind you, they certainly know how to meddle. We won't tell Durf about this, or the others. It's not necessary. I intend to deal with this situation right now." Fancying the enemy. Oh, sorry. I don't mean to keep shining the torch in your eyes. Well, Sly could not kid himself. He was pleased to see her. There was no doubt about it. As he walked across the room where the captives were being kept, he'd been hoping that she'd be there. And when it turned out that she was, he was pleased. Well, this was an entirely new experience for Sly. Occasionally in the past, he'd developed things about girls, but never on so short an acquaintance, and certainly never with such immediate force. After all, he knew nothing about the girl, apart from the fact that she seemed to be firmly against absolutely everything that he stood for. There was no getting around it, though. Well, he was pleased to see her. She seemed even rather more pretty than when he'd first met at the office. Action and adventure had lent a highly attractive flush to her cheek, and her eyes sparkled with defiance and fear. She was also firmly tied to a chair, which was something that normally took Sly ages to persuade his girlfriends to put up with. Excuse me while I go and vomit in my mouth. Question and answer. Sly pulled himself together. There was a time for masterly self-assurance. Sly pulled himself together because this was a time for masterly self-assurance. He stood before the sorry gang of renegades and addressed them with what he hoped would be an icy and intimidating tone. "Just what in the name of fuck do you think you're doing?" he blurted. Walter looked at him defiantly. "Trying to find out what you're up to, man," he said. "Just like last time, like still trying to suss out what's going down." "What's going down, you filthy bastard," shouted Tyrone, "is one of my helicopters." Sly tried to calm himself. They couldn't both stand there screaming at a bunch of hippies. It was all so unreal. Here he was, a colossus of the world of power of money, and he was standing, shouting and screaming at a Carlton dropout. That's the trouble with spending all your time on the 25th floor. When you come down, there's one hell of a thump. "Why are you so interested in what I'm doing?" he asked. "Well, we won't know that until we find out what it is, will we, man?" replied Walter. "But we have a pretty good idea that whatever it is, it's heavy. Now, where's my man Zimmerman? If you've harmed him, I swear I'll lay some very bad karma on your head, man. Dig?" Walter's three comrades felt slightly embarrassed at this. Having Walter lay some very bad karma on your head, well, it kind of sounded something akin to being savaged by Bambi. Well, Sly didn't even realise he'd been threatened. "Who are you talking about?" he said. "My man Zimmerman, a kind of hippie dude. He ate your hamburger at Facefuls." Sly was about to add that since he had eaten his security chief's nose as well. Sly had about to add that since then, he'd eaten his security guard's nose as well, but he decided to be more circumspect. "We have him safe, don't trouble about that," Sly lied. "Well, you better start worrying about yourselves," Tyrone chipped in. "Now what the fuck do you know? All of it. Everything. What do you know? And where's the yank bitch? Come on, out with it. Now!" Well, there was a sullen silence. Tyrone grabbed a gun from one of the guards and he pointed it at them. Sly tensed up and watched Tyrone very carefully. "You answer me right now or you're dead, you hear?" Tyrone barked. "I don't suppose there'll be anybody bloody much mourning any of you. We'll just leave you for the dingoes. Now come on, answer me." Walter's reply was a shrewd one. "You ain't gonna shoot us, man. No way," he said. "Because you don't know what we know. And you don't know what the yank chick knows. And you don't know who we've told. And you don't know..." Walter seemed about to flag, but then he got his second wind. He always did love the bullshit. "And you don't know how many of us are out there. Yeah, that's right. You have no idea of the hugeness of our network, man. You have no concept of its almost cosmic enormity. You don't know how many heavily armed and totally dedicated hippies are out there just waiting to come in and endless late nights watching American cop shows came to his aid. come in here and cream your ass, yeah? That's it, cream your ass. And expose all the things that we know to the whole world. He finished off and then added, man, as a kind of full stop. It was a good performance. CD nearly spoiled it by applauding. Well, luckily his hands were tied behind his back. But unfortunately for Walter, Sly was not stupid. He simply smiled and said, oh yeah, if you're all so heavily armed, mate, how come you came in carrying only the guns you pinched off us in the first place? Well, there was a pause. Well, irony, man, said Walter. Yeah, that's it. We have a really keen sense of irony. These people don't know shit, said Sly. They're shooting in the dark. And bringing down helicopters, added DuPont, who saw no reason why he should be the only person to feel a dickhead that day. Tyrone wasn't satisfied with Sly's confidence. I agree, there's no way they can know much, he said. But we have to find out what little it is. And besides that, we've got to find the American girl. DuPont, can you make them talk? Well, of course I can make them talk, said DuPont, and his tone was not pleasant, especially if you happened to be his prisoner. Now, what in the hell do you two think you're talking about? Sly shouted. In a way, he was going through a similar learning process to that which CD and the others were going through. Well, they'd never been involved in gun battles before, and he had never heard colleagues casually hint at torturing total strangers. It was being brought home to all of them just how high the stakes were getting. What I'm talking about, Tyrone shouted back, is the Stark Project and the countless billions that we have all invested in our future. I have no intention of letting a few adventurous idiots like this ruin everything. Ruin the biggest thing in the world. There was a moment's embarrassed silence as everybody realised that Tyrone had been about to reveal all. He turned to the four captives. Now, you can either tell us peaceably what you know, or Colonel DuPont here can force it out of you. What do you know? We don't know shit, man, but you sure are making it all sound interesting, said Walter. Why don't you tell us? Right, DuPont. Which will be easiest, said Tyrone. The kid in the glasses, maybe? Or the girl? He replied. No, barked Sly. Mrs. Colboon decided to have her say. Oi, listen up. My friend's telling the truth. We don't know nothing about your big stuff and your damn future. We're here because I got beaten up on my own land by racists, and that's all we know. And if you don't tell us no more, then we'll still know nothing, and you can let us go. That's right, said Sly, and Rachel thought he was acting extremely reasonably, considering that they'd shot down his helicopter. Like fuck they don't know anything, asserted Tyrone, heating up. They have to know where the Yank is, maybe even where this hippie Zimmerman fella got to. Oh, yeah? Well, I thought you said you had him safe, taunted CD. Tyrone turned towards him with a look like granite. Get on with it, DuPont, he said. Stay exactly where you are, DuPont, Sly countered. Tyrone, can we have a private word, please? He ushered Tyrone out of the room, leaving DuPont to guard the prisoners. And despite the fact that this time he had 4 guards with him, well, DuPont was careful to keep his nose well out of reach. Original Sin. Outside the room, there was yet another tense altercation between Sly and Tyrone. For God's sake, Tyrone, you were about to have those people tortured, said a rather disturbed Sly. I still am, mate, if it's necessary, Tyrone replied. And of course, Sly could see his point. Well, they had no way of knowing what these irritating people knew and who, if anyone, they'd told it to. And besides this, there was the much bigger problem of the American journalist still being at large. They truly did need to find her. And on the other hand, to discard any civilised behaviour so quickly, right at the very beginning of their great plan, well, did not bode at all well for their future. After all, the whole point of the Stark Project was to reshape civilization and give it a new start, a fresh chance. Stark was to be a phoenix rising out of the dead ashes of a failed and disgraced civilization. If they started this way, they were bound to fail again. It was almost as if Sly was looking the original sin right in the eye. Love finds a way. Of course, Sly did not consider all these thoughts so coherently in the few seconds that elapsed before he replied to Tyrone. Mainly, he was thinking about Rachel. His natural repugnance to Tyrone's casual acceptance of brutality as a viable course of action was multiplied ad infinitum by the thought that he intended to practice it upon the girl, Rachel. He really did seem to have gone soft on her. "Listen," Sly replied, "I agree that the situation is touchy, but don't forget that nothing we're doing here is actually illegal. Totally shithouse morals-wise, perhaps, but not actually illegal. They can't possibly have anything on us yet, and if the American does try to make a move, well, let's face it, we've got her. We control the police, the phones, the transport, the credit. We control everything." "Yeah, I know, but they still got this far," replied Tyrone. "Look, just give me a day or two to try and sort this situation out my way, all right? Leave them alone for the time being, eh? I mean, the minute anyone makes a move anywhere in the world, let alone in Bullen's Creek, Durf's going to know. So what's the problem? Let me talk to them. I'll find out what they got, and there'll be nothing." Sly had already decided on the course of action that he must take. He and Tyrone re-entered the room. "Don't worry," said Sly. "We're not going to hurt you. I'll simply be questioning you one at a time. You first." He pointed at Rachel and motioned a guard to untie her and lead her out. It nearly broke CD's heart to see Rachel thus contemptuously ordered about. Luckily, he was securely bound, and so he was not forced to try and do something about it. Better a broken heart than a broken neck. And that is the end of that chapter. And what I'm going to do, because I've had a couple of days break, I'm going to end this stream now, but I'm going to start another one in a very few minutes. So, thanks for hanging with me. If you're hanging with me, thanks for watching the replay. If you're watching the replay, we'll be back with another chapter very, very shortly. There are always numbers for people having a hard time in the description box of my videos. Please go and avail yourselves of them. And I am really, I think I'm really close to 250 subscribers. So if you feel like doing something nice for someone that doesn't cost you anything but will actually do a fair bit to help change the colour of my day, please consider subscribing to my nice channel and maybe thumbsing upping this video, or thumbsing down it if you think I'm an idiot. That's totally fine too. All right, here's a little music to go out on. Love you, bye, and you'll see me soon.